Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 6 of the Adrenaline GT GT3 Championship here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. My name is Isaac, and again, welcome to round 6. This is brought to you in partnership with TrackSpotTV and RavenComms. I'm super excited to be here. We've just come off the back of an awesome round a couple weeks ago at where were we? Circuit of the Americas. And alongside me this evening to bring you all the action from Zolder, which is where we are this week, the beautiful Belgian countryside, is Mr. George Cook. Good evening, George. We are having a couple difficulties, but that's all right. We will push on. So, yes, we are round 6. So we are at the point, getting towards the pointy end of the season now. Obviously, you can see here what we have had so far and what we have got coming up. So this is round 6. We are at Zolder, the lovely Zolder. Everyone's very excited for this round, myself included. We've already had 5 rounds of the championship that have taken place. And we've got 2 rounds to come after this. One next week at Indianapolis Superspeedway, and then the finale at Imola in just a few weeks' time. But this round I am super excited for. Let's have a look at what happened last time out at Texas. So Matt Simmons took out race 1. It was a super sprint format last time at the Circuit of the Americas. Matt Simmons took the win in race 1 with Simon Bishop, Cameron Fleming rounding out the podium. Martinetti in a very close 4th place. That was a brilliant battle between those top 4 drivers to round that out. If we have a look at race 2 now, for the showdown, you can see Simon Bishop got the better of Matt Simmons in that second race and cemented his championship lead over his BCG rivals, Cameron Fleming, again in 3rd place. A very consistent round for him, which was great for his championship charge late in the season. James Machin, a 4th place in that second race, and a 5th place as well. Josh Green, 5th place in that second race. His best result to date for Adrenaline GT. He was very happy with himself after that performance. Let's have a look at our class standings now. So Simon Bishop, understandably, without a doubt, leads the way in our pro standings from Nick Carter and James Machin. So the TTR Westside boys moving up in the order after Liam Tame missed the last round. Dan Crawley leads the way over James Hammond in the Pro-Am standings, and that lead has blown out a bit after James Hammond missed the Circuit of the Americas round as well. And Andrew Griffin moves himself into 3rd spot in the Pro-Am standings over Mark Sinclair in 4th. Having a look at our AM standings, Porsche GT has a very, very close battle going on at the moment with Clayton Twining, only 49 points between the 2 drivers at the moment, and Georgie Takacs in 3rd, 122 points back. Looking at our overall point standings now, we have Simon Bishop leading the way, surprise, surprise. Nick Carter, James Machin in 2nd and 3rd. Dan Crawley, the lead Pro-Am driver in the overall standings, in 6th place. And Porsche GT, the lead AM driver in the overall standings, in 16th place overall. So very exciting outlook on the championship at the moment. And having a look at our teams championship as well, we've got BCG 3 leading the way as they have done for most of this season. TTR Westside still sitting in 2nd. And Fogarty Motorsport hanging on in 3rd spot over BCG 2 after a very good points haul from Matt Simmons the last time out at Circuit of the Americas. We've got Team XV Primer also up there in the top 6 as well, and Team XV still sitting inside the top 10 of the championship with Andrew Griffin scoring 60 points in that last race for that team. There's been a couple movers and shakers in the team standings, but it's a very close battle in that mid-pack. And George, I want to grab your thoughts. Obviously, we've just unpacked quite a lot there with the team's standings and the driver standings, but what are your thoughts on the current state of the championship as we get to the pointy end?
Yes, well, hello Isaac and hello everyone. Fantastic to actually be here, and a little bit of a technical glitch in the background, but everyone should be able to hear me now, including yourself, Isaac. Lovely to be here for round 6 at Zolder. Yeah, honestly, the team standings looking really interesting at the moment. Obviously BCG3 dominating at the moment, but that battle between P2, 3 and 4 is actually starting to spice up. Only 36 points there between Fogarty Motorsport and BCG. I bet you'd be pretty interested in keeping the guys going in Fogarty Motorsport. They're doing very, very well. My eye, though, as always, Isaac, drawn to 11th place McLaren, trying to break into that top 10. Team XV just ahead of them, and then Victory Motorsport not far away. So a couple of good rounds here or there could really swing this in the other direction. So looking forward to a great race. And Zolder, what a place to go racing.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to be at Zolder. It's one of my favorite circuits in real life and on this game. Let's have a look at it now. Let's go on the track walk here. So as you can see, the beautiful Belgian countryside. We have, if I pull my track stacks up, my apologies. We have 15 corners, 6 to the left and 9 to the right. It's 4 kilometers on the nose. For those of you that work in the other system of measurement, it's 2.4 miles. This layout has been unchanged from 2007. It opened and was founded in 1963. And it has 19 meters of elevation change around here, most of that happening in the middle sector. And that's the sector that excites me the most. You can see that blue line. There's not one, but two chicanes for our drivers to navigate. And if you get it slightly wrong through there, the curbs, they're very aggressive around here and they can bite. You can see from that panoramic shot right there just how big those curbs are. And George, I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to see how some of our drivers navigate this circuit tonight, because it's going to be a challenge to get it right for an entire 60 minutes.
It certainly will be, and yeah, we've got a couple more technical things to sort out, so we'll just be jumping around for a single moment here. We will be back onto the racing in a few moments' time, because we do, Isaac, we do have qualifying going at the moment, so we're looking forward to having that going. So let's jump out there now. I don't see why not. Apologies for the little bit of technical interruptions there. We just had to do a little bit of a on-the-fly fix, and this is something that drivers can get used to as well when they go between qualifying and the race. They've got to do that on-the-fly fix just to get their setup absolutely right. But at the moment, beautiful temperature and setup right now. It's nice and calm, nice and quiet, except for those loud engines. Beautiful track temperature, 37 degrees Celsius. I don't know, that might have an adverse effect on the tyres throughout this race, but I think it's going to make for a good one.
Absolutely, it's a really good track temperature at the moment now. Obviously, it's the first time we've run the qualifying session on the Sunday prior to the race. This has been run at game time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The race will start at 3. Variable weather again, so this is a little bit of cloud cover. If you look at the little weather map up the top, there's a bit of cloud cover around at the moment. Potential for rain, maybe. We're not entirely sure, but we had this at Suzuka. It was very overcast at Suzuka. We thought we were pretty much within a guaranteed shot of some rain, and we didn't end up getting anything, so you never know. But Matt Donetti leading the way qualifying at the moment, Mr. Pro-Am himself, and he's going to have to up his payments again, because he's proving week in, week out that he can hack it with the big guys. As I say that, Simon Bishop goes to the top with a 28-2. These guys are absolutely flying at the moment. Tyler Lanzell at the moment doing a great job in 3rd place, and coming second in class at the moment. Dan Crawley, the 3rd Pro-Am driver, down at 8th, and then S. King, Sam King, on debut here at AGT, is currently 9th place in the 417 McLaren. He's doing a brilliant job at the moment. Al Dusty as well in the 71 Ferrari. This is his return to racing. He's been out for a number of months now with a broken back, and he is back in the seat this week. He says it's against doctor's orders, but he's back in the seat this week and he's ready to go, and he's currently sitting inside the top 10, which is a great effort for a man who hasn't turned a wheel since October last year, so he's doing a really good job at the moment. And just looking up and down the field at the moment, George, there's a couple big names pushing up the order, and a couple big names that I'm seeing a bit further down the order from where they'd like to be, in particularly Liam Tame, the man who up until last round sat 2nd in the championship, finds himself 7th in this qualifying session at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. That's the big story there, getting back in the rig after injuring your back like that. Just make sure to turn down the force feedback settings. You don't want to be in a situation where that force feedback is launching you from side to side. So we do, of course, everyone here will wish you the best and speediest of recoveries, and best of luck in the race too. But yeah, as you said, Liam Tame on board with him at the moment. And, number 76 BMW looking pretty strong, 1.2 seconds off the pace and 9.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. So still a fair bit to go, but there's a 1.2 second gap between the top 7. It's not something that we've seen at all the tracks. It's a little bit of a closer qualifying. A little bit of a shock actually, a shorter circuit like this, Isaac, to see the cars split by a little bit more than I was expecting. Obviously P1, P2, nice and close in there, but Tyler Lanzell, fantastic lap that he's put in there in the BMW. So put himself up into P3 in this. Right ahead of Crawley is the first one, is the second off the pace from where Bishop is. This is one of those circuits, Isaac, where you can get it horrendously right and horrendously wrong. And when it goes horrendously wrong, it goes really, really wrong. So maybe that's what we're seeing in terms of qualifying. Hard to get a really good, consistent lap around here. especially through that second sector after that chicane, all the way through that part. Very tricky because you're riding on those curves constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see as we watch Liam Tame here as he goes out on his outlap, we watch him through this second sector that he's going to go through, because it's very easy, especially in this BMW, to get it wrong. You can see, I think car may be playing a factor around here. You look at who's at the top at the moment, and it's mostly BMWs and Fords, a Ferrari in the mix as well, and Aston Martin with Mazzinetti, but we know Mazzinetti's very quick. You can see Liam Tame, he's getting the tyres up to temperature. He wants to get as much pressure as he can in those front tyres, especially with the amount of turning. You can see where he is at the moment, those curves. There's a little sausage curve just on the inside of that, and if you use too much of that bigger curve to try and cut the corner, the sausage curve will bottom out the car and it will basically send it straight to the outside wall, which is very frustrating. And then here, that corner he just went through there, that set of chicanes, if he uses slightly too much curve on that second phase of the corner, as we see a car going backwards there, I believe that is Sheepers. It's one of the Interforce racing cars, it is Sheepers. But if you use too much of that curve, it invalidates the lap time. So it's very fickle, this circuit. We talked about last week, or the week before, sorry, at Circuit of the Americas, that they were very strict on track limits around that track, and a lot of drivers are having invalidated lap times. You're going to find the same thing here. A lot of drivers trying to push the track limits and just going that little bit too far. It's so easy to do, especially at circuits like this where the walls are so close and the track limits are so confined and so small.
Yeah, and by the way, I will just embarrass you ever so slightly. It is not Sheepers, it's Shepherds. He is from South Africa. He's a driver that I've met in person for the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. Nice to see him over in this. I'm sure he'll forgive you. He was very forgiving to me. I think most people in South Africa are pretty forgiving on how pronunciation of their names goes, because they're not always the simplest names to pronounce. But yes, Andre Shepherds there in the number 22 Ferrari pulls back into the pits. He will go again, 6.5 minutes left in qualify. Carter is one that we were excited to watch in the previous rounds, and that Ford looking menacing as ever. Goes through the last chicane. It's a nice bit of curb through the bends there, and now on the exit, gets the power down. Not quite sure if this is going to be a hot lap for him. Let's see if he improves. No improvement there, so he will go again, passing that lovely pit lane. Tricky pit lane entry though, and I think, you know, Isaac, we're probably going to talk a fair bit about the pit lane entry in this upcoming race, because there's a lot of complexity around it. People think Watkins Glen's bad, but honestly, in my book, Zolder has got the absolute worst pit lane entry in the entire game.
I think I would have to agree with you there, George. The pit lane entry here is very awkward, and you're prone to having a car in your rear bumper if you're not very careful. I find for the most part these guys do a really good job of navigating that pit entry, and you'll see a few of these guys, especially in practice, were rehearsing that pit entry with other cars around to make sure that they were aware of what other cars were doing and the other cars were aware of what they were doing. But a mandatory stop in this race means that at some point you do have to peel into that pit lane. It's not a sprint format this weekend, so drivers do have to do a tour through the pits for a set of tyres, which means that, yeah, it's going to come to a point where you're going to have to be alert, because you never know who's going to go into the lane and when. So it's about staying alert, it's about staying active, but even once you navigate that entry, you can see the entry there just off in the distance as Nick Carter approaches the final stage of corners. Once you enter the lane, you then have to navigate what is a little, I would call it a chicane of tyres to get into the pit lane. So it's not over yet, and I myself have become victim to those tyres on many occasions. So if you get it slightly wrong, you carry a little bit too much speed, that pit entry sneaks up on you, and then the little chicane of tyres can catch you out and put some damage on the car, which is the last thing any of these guys will want, especially coming into the lane.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and you know, when they come in short order, if you've got a mixed up grid as well, everyone's on a different strategy. I mean, you're really praying when you've got a couple of cars behind you, you go, well, I'm about to pit. I really hope these guys know that I'm going to be pitting. So usually the tactic doesn't always work, but the tactic is, you know, map your keys to the indicators, put your right indicator on as you head through that last part before the entry to the pit lane. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. And some drivers, you know, just get it wrong anyway. They brake a little bit too soon, a little bit too late if they're right behind you. So it is really, really tricky. As we see Nicholson that's actually Al Dusty getting absolutely launched over that chicane. Really tricky to get the flying chicane right. a micrometer. Literally, it's an absolute millimeter, a micrometer, a micro nanometer, whatever it is called, a picometer, I believe. That is the absolute right optimal area to be on. Anything else on that chicane, and your car is getting launched. He actually did really well to hold on to it. He's on a lap right now, the number 71. He's currently 4th in the silver standings right now. Bishop's still on top, only 2 tenths separating, so we've got those three 51, 31 and 98 drivers. Pretty strong at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for context, that little bump over the chicane, like a slight openness of the chicane there for our Dusky, is half a second. And that's how much this circuit can bite you if you get it even slightly wrong. He lost half a second. He was up until that point, and he's finished his lap well down now on his best time. But yes, we got Simon Bishop leading the way at the moment with a very close gap to Mazzinetti. I'm just trying to see if we can find Mazzinetti on track to see if he is improving at the moment. Simon Bishop's just started a lap, it does look like. We've got Liam Tame, who is up 2 tenths at the moment on his best time and is about to come across the line. He's lost a lot of time in the last sequence of corners though, so he now won't improve. He got that very wrong through that final corner, and he will not improve on his best time, which will be frustrating to him. But we've still got 2 minutes to go in this session, so there's still time for another lap. Matt Tinetti is 1.8 seconds up, 2 tenths now up at the moment, which at this stage, if he continues like this, we'll put him on pole. But he does have a bit of traffic in front of him, George. So this is going to play a bit of a factor, and we'll have to see if these guys get out of the way.
Yeah, this is a massive one. It's not just a little bit of traffic. He's got 3 cars ahead of him, 2 of which are quite bumped up, and he's taken a really good racing line. Yeah, I was going to say, he's taken a really hardcore racing line through there. That's the racing line that you take when you're going to burn off one of your track limit warnings. So he is backing out of that lap. It's not going to be good enough. He's got a minute and a half, or just above there, to get another lap in, which is still plenty of time, but he's just got to reset, got to make sure he absolutely nails that entry. Bear in mind, when you're behind cars like that, you start to experience that dirty air. It can really throw you off through a section like that. And basically 2 chicanes in a row, for incredibly low speed. You just got to get that car slowed down, roll off the brakes nicely. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself understeering. In that case, he just kind of overshot the middle part of the apex, didn't he?
Absolutely. He just sort of carried a little bit too much speed into the first phase of that corner, which is so easy to do because it looks like it's so open, but once you get into it, the apex is a lot tighter than what you would expect it to do. I'm just looking at Nick Carter at the moment, who looks like he's about to slightly improve on his best time, maybe. No, he's just down. James Machin was on an improvised lap, but did find traffic at the end of that one. We've got Liam Tame, who's up again. He's just started the new lap and looking to improve his best time. And I'm just looking up and down the field. We've got Les Sandwich, who's 3 tenths up on his best time. And he gets a little bit taily out of the chicane. That's the guy who's just sitting on the screen behind Liam Tame at the moment. He's now only a 10th up on his best time. But as he comes into this phase of the chicane, this is where Mazzinetti got it wrong. You can see that Ferrari very loose through that section of corners. You can see Mazzinetti in behind him as well. So Matt is pushing on. He is currently just up. He's about equal with his best time at the moment. So he's got a little bit of time to find if he wants to improve. I don't think he will get to the line in time to do another lap. So this is going to be it for Mazzinetti. And it's going to be a question of whether he can improve. He's about on par with his best time so far. He's found a little bit of time through that second phase of the penultimate corner to come into the chicane now, the final chicane. He's got to really hook this up. He's got to find a lot of time. He was deep on the brakes. He briefly went about 3 tenths up. That's how deep on the brakes he was, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to improve, but not by much. He's going to stay second place. So that is huge, because that means Simon Bishop at this stage still holds pole position. Dan Crawley, who's in 3rd, is in the lane, so he's done. Simon Bishop, I believe, is done. He is in the lane. We've got Tyler Lansdell's in the lane. Liam Tame is in the lane. I think that's it. I think everyone's done. That is a pole for Simon Bishop, but not by as much as he probably would have expected it to be.
Yeah, it's not a lot. 0.175 of a second, and that is a small amount. But yeah, Simon Bishop definitely going to have some competition today from Bernetti. But Machin goes across the line, no improvement there from 193. Carter's in the pits. Ian Tame's just come across the line, no improvement from him either. We've got Green coming through the last chicane right now, and the number 232 Ford. It's 1.295 seconds down from our leader. Is it going to be an improvement? It's not. He is done. Dusty is done. Nicholson, we're going on board with him. The last couple of drivers come across the line. We'll keep an eye on the timing sheets in case there's any last shifters and movers. Nicholson not going to be improving. He is pulled out. That is going to be our qualifying run, I believe, unless there's one more. No, Excel puts it into the gravel as a spectacular way to end qualifying, and that's going to be it. Simon Bishop is on top to start this race. But then again, I have to say, at Zolder, your starting position really doesn't matter. What matters is whether you've got the inside line into that first chicane.
Absolutely, it's all about positioning for that first sequence of corners and then on the run down to the chicane. So it's going to be really good to see this race start. There's been a lot of firm chats with these drivers about their race starts. They did really well in the first race at Coda, and then the second race at Coda, Matt Zanetti ended up backwards facing the wrong way. So they've had a bit of a stern talking to again this week. The stewards are all over them, trying to tell them you've got to stay vigilant, and it's a long race. It's an hour long. Everyone's got to go through a pit stop, so it's about taking it easy into that first corner. So it's going to be one to watch. I'm very excited to see this race start, and I'm very excited to see this race because the top guys here are so close, a bit further apart, as you touched on earlier, a bit further apart across the field than we would have expected and we probably would have liked. But I think it's very clear that there's 2 or 3 cars that are extremely strong around here, and there's a couple of cars that are struggling for pace.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to make for a good start to the race. And an hour, it's not one of those races where you just take it lightly. An hour of racing is still serious business. We've got the pit stops that we've got to get absolutely right. Will be a lot of people that take that 30-minute strategy to heart today. When they do that, obviously they've just got to be a bit aware of what's going on the entry to the pit lane. So those are going to be the big ones to look out for. And of course, into the chicanes, we've got 2 of them. Second one, not quite as nasty as the first one. The first one will send you to space. I've said this before many times on streams and commentating Zolder. You will join your manufacturer's space program in short order. Fast track to the moon if you get yourself in the wrong part of that, and you'll be around. You'll be spinning or you'll be launched up there. So got to be really careful on that. And the first lap, just take it nice and easy, and that's what we're hoping to see today. Big shout out to everyone on stream, by the way. We are going live to the AGT YouTube. Hello everyone on YouTube land. We are also live on the TrackSpotTV live channels for YouTube and Twitch. And big thanks again to AGT and yourself, Isaac. Pleasure being here, representing the broadcasting partnership here, TrackSpotTV and AGT, shaking hands in a very manly manner, and it was good fun. So we're going to see a good race today. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a really good race, and I don't know. We've got a few minutes before we start the race. I just was slightly distracted because I'm looking at the qualifying results, and I don't know how. Don't ask me how this happens, but somehow Matt Zanetti, despite being second, has every single fastest sector, which I feel like has to be a glitch. But looking at his sector times compared to Simon Bishop's sector times, he's faster in every single sector. But
yes, we've just got it up on stream now. This doesn't make any sense. And actually, that first sector is a 29.895, and it was, that's faster. Yeah, the second sector's faster.
Indeed faster.
Yeah.
So my brain is just trying to comprehend whether there's been a glitch in the game and how that exactly works, because you would think that to be faster, Simon Bishop has to be faster in at least one sector.
Yeah.
But he's faster in none of them. So just trying to wrap my head around that one, George, to see if I can explain the science behind that.
The laws of physics have clearly changed in some regards or another, or mathematics is somehow fundamentally shifted somehow. I do know that ACC does sometimes track laps struggle to track laps, I should say, between pit stop sessions. Also, if Bishop did at any point leave the server and come back in, that can also trigger this effect. He's clearly got the fastest lap there, but he must have set it for the game had sort of considered it a second stint. So this does happen in regular telemetry on longer races as well, where you get a situation where the car itself has gone significantly faster, but the current driver, the overall fastest lap looks like that driver for a period of time. But yeah, Zanetti, nice job. You have officially broken mathematics on ACC with your lap. I don't quite know how, don't quite know why, but it is there.
Yes, congratulations. You have broken ACC, and that is an achievement I've been trying to achieve for many years, and he's finally done it. So that is good. But we can see there's a couple of big names up the order there. Obviously, Matt Zanetti, Dan Craw, and Tyler Lanzell, 3 Pro-Am drivers that have wedged themselves inside that top 5, and Liam Tame down in 7th. Andre Sheppers. I believe it's Sheppers. I want to make sure I get everyone's
Correct.
names correctly because I want to pronounce the names correctly. But Sheppers finds himself in 8th place, which I think is one of his best qualifying results of the season. Al Dusty, on his return to racing, is 11th, and Sam King, on his debut in AGT, is in the 417 McLaren, is in 10th place. Riley Nicholson also finding himself up in 12th place. He'll be very happy with that. He's been having a bit of a tough time this season, and jumping up into 12th there, he'll be very happy with that. That puts him 5th in class overall. So the top 5 in class. There's been a bit of banter between some of these Pro-Am boys throughout the week and some of the AM guys as well, because obviously Al Dusty returning and not having driven a wheel, or not turned a wheel for a little while, not driven a race car. They want to have bragging rights over him, and he's been confident that he's going to come back, and he's not going to be very quick. But I think he's proved them and himself wrong by putting the car in P11 with a very respectable 29.6, George.
Yeah, absolutely. And my eyes were immediately drawn to King here. The McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. Now, typically, people would blame me for just looking at the McLarens, but actually he's done really well. AM class lead in the number 417 there. It's a 129.637. It's actually a very, very respectable time. McLarens are usually typically quite good at a track like Zolder, but it's still an impressive time. Puts himself above the majority of the Pro-Am field, which is really, really good. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him. He's qualified in the top 10 today. There's a lot on offer just ahead of him if something does go wrong. So this could be a really good result for King today. Next in class there for the M class is Excel, the young man in the Ford Mustang, who's been looking very, very quick. Not his fastest day out here. To 130.1, puts him half a second away from his AM class leader today in King. So Excel's got a lot of work to do, and he's got 3 very spicy races in between him and his next competitor, King. That's Griffin, Nicholson, and Al Dusty. So this P10 to P14 area is extremely exciting. And if you look further down there, Les, Samwith, you've got Alan, you've got Horvath, Sinclair in the Pro-Am category, followed by Porsche GT, who's done incredibly well, had a good season, is leading AM class, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. And another McLaren, now my bias starts to show. And then Boyd, Twining, and Lashbrook. So, yeah, it's a spicy bottom 10 there in terms of this. In terms of the overall attendance today, 23 drivers on track, which is looking absolutely fantastic. We're about to go on our formation lap, Isaac. This is going to be a really exciting race. It's going to be a strategic race, and they need to be very, very careful. Away we go for our formation lap, and Simon Bishop leads us away.
Absolutely, and Matt Tanetti being a little bit cheeky there, just waited a little bit longer before he got away, letting Simon Bishop just get up the road a little bit so he could practice his launch off the line, which it's not a standing start, it's a rolling start for these guys, but it's still nice to practice getting on the throttle and getting the power down. Don't have to worry about running up the back of someone. And these cars, they do ghost on the formation lap, but we try and tell these guys and try and encourage them to treat it like it's real life. Don't just drive through another car. You couldn't do that on the real circuit. You're not doing that here because we want to practice real racing etiquette so that when the lights go out, we don't just try and we forget that the cars aren't ghosted anymore. We just drive through someone. But Simon Bishop, he has been the man to set the standard this season. He came in and ever since the first race, he has just shown his class. He's shown why he's a former Gran Turismo World Tour driver, why he has got the credentials that he has, and just absolutely been the class of the field, which I don't think we ever expected anything less really. But Matt Tanetti, what a job he's doing in 2nd place, and I think he's definitely a candidate, as much as you want to hear it, for Pro next season. Mark Sinclair, down in 18th place, is doing a great job as well. These guys down the back do a really good job week in, week out of racing each other. And there's a few incidents here and there. We had a couple incidents coming out through Coda, but both those guys, the Mark Sinclair and Clayton Twining, the 555 and the 160, have both had great seasons, respectively. They're doing really well in their respective championships. Clayton Twining actually sitting 2nd in the Pro-Am championship, in the AM championship. Sorry, my apologies. And I believe Mark Sinclair is actually sitting 4th in the Pro-Am championship. So both those guys having a really good run at the moment, which is great to see. And we're getting towards the back end of the circuit now, so these drivers are going to get to the point now where the game will tell them to start to grid up, because we're getting locked and loaded to go. The final phase of tyre wear. It's even more cloudy than it was during qualifying, so the cloud cover is increasing. Will we get rain? We don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. It's going to stay cloudy for at least the next 30 minutes, which is good for these drivers, but it's going to be a gamble to pit in case a bit of late rain does come. You can see the grid starting to form now. Cars going 2 by 2. Double lane file, everyone finding their own bit of space. Simon Bishop will lead the way. Matt Zanetti's creeped ahead for the moment. He'll lead into the final turn, pretending that he has pole position. And you've got the 2 Team XV Primer cars in behind them of Crawley and Lanzell. Everyone will be looking for their own bit of real estate as we come down towards turn 1. So it's going to have to be as clean as you like. Everyone's going to be pushing to find their own bit of real estate through turn 1. We are green. The green flag is out and we are away for the 1 hour race here at Zolder, the Belgian Faceoff. And Simon Bishop is a beautiful move, but Matt Zanetti's held around the outside into turn 1 and finds himself in the lead of this race, entering into turn 2. But Simon Bishop back down the inside of Matt Zanetti there. Everyone has seemed to get through that first stage of corners without any issue. Dan Crawley up in the 3rd. James Machin has jumped Tyler Lanzell for 4th place, and despite Matt Zanetti being bowled off the start and holding around the outside in what was a lovely move, Simon Bishop now leads the way as we come down towards turn 1. The timing board now starting to fix itself as the drivers cross through the first sector into the first chicane for the second time. That's Dan Crawley sideways. He used too much curb on the entry. We spoke about that during qualifying, and he's using slightly too much curb can cost you, and that has put him down the order now. He's kicking himself for that, but he's done that all on his own, it seems, and now that's James Machin up into 3rd place. Matt Zanetti and Simon Bishop already gapping these guys. Look at the gap they have pulled over Dan Crawley. We've got a bit of a car park happening in the chicane towards the back. We've got a car around. That is the 43 of Andrew Griffin that is facing the wrong way at the chicane. He's moving again now, but that looks like a bit of a car park. That's a very tricky corner to navigate with drivers making moves early, but it seems to me that most cars have got through unscathed early on in this race, which is really, really good after the dramas that we've had in the first couple rounds, or most of the rounds this season. So they've done a great job. James Machin, as I said, up in the 3rd, doing an excellent job. Liam Tame up in the 6th place off the start as well. Sam King up to 8th place. So he's up 2 spots off the start. Dan Crawley back down to 9th after that difficult race start for him. And Al Dusty inside the top 10 off that race start. So that is a lot. Let's take a small breath there, George, because that's a lot to unpack for the first lap. Not as action-packed in terms of people making contact as we're used to, but there was still plenty of action going on.
For sure, yeah, exciting race start there on lap 1. We did see Matt Zanetti did seem to be slightly ahead of Simon Bishop at race start. I don't know if that's going to come back to bite him. Didn't look like he was actually in his pit slot for that, so it was an interesting little start there. That allowed him to get that jump on Simon Bishop, but Simon Bishop played it perfectly. Exactly what I was saying. You need to have that inside line, head to the chicane. He'd already done it by turn 4, Lucia Blanterbock, so he was all set and go good to go. 0.6 is the second, is the gap between P1 and P2 right now. And it wasn't a frightful car park that happened towards the Terlemenbox is what it's called, which is actually just Terlemen. And by the way, all the Zolder corner names are named after famous race drivers. Yeah, not a bad start at the end of the day, I don't think, Isaac. It was a little bit scrappy here and there, but things have started to sort themselves out. Looking back from P3, Machin has done very nicely to get up to P3. My eye still caught on Stephen King. He's doing very, very well at the minute. I think he did lose a place again to Crawley, who's just trying to crawl, ironically, his way back up the field after an early mistake, and lots of overtaking happening here. Liam Dane is trying for it, Carter's trying for it, he's trying to hold on. Does so. Lancel tries around the outside. He's got Sheppers right next to him, though, into the braking zone. They're going to go 3 wide in the braking zone. Sheppers does do the sensible thing and pull out of that one, but they're still side by side, and it's going to be the inside line for Tame as they head in towards turn 4. Sheppers is driving the socks off that Ferrari right now, and Stephen King's up in the action too. So this is truly, Isaac, a 5-way battle for the top 3.
And Josh Green's now getting himself involved in this spot. This is, they're all battling over the same piece of racetrack, fellas. There's a whole piece of tarmac that you can use. We don't all have to fight over the same small piece of it, but they all want it, and they're all pushing each other along. Now Al Dusty and Riley Nicholson are getting involved in this as well. This is great for the guys in front. Liam Tame and Nick Carter have got an absolute free kick here. Liam Tame's up into 4th place after starting 7th. He's doing a great job. Sheepers is now starting to pull away. Dan Crawley as well is starting to move up on the back of his teammate Tyler Lanzell. But Sam King has been overtaken by Josh Green, who now Sam King has a look up the inside into the... Oh, he's just made slight contact there, and I think he'll just let him go to leave that position off, and he does. So that's very smart driving there, just to avoid getting a penalty. He's just redressed that to make sure that there's no advantage gained from that bump and run. But now he's vulnerable with Al Dusty in behind. ACC was having to look up the inside, and Riley Nicholson couldn't make that move stick. It's all going on down here. They all want a piece of the action here at the back end of the top 10. And it's, as I said, free kick for those guys in front. There's now a 5-second gap between Simon Bishop and James Machin, and probably about a 4-second gap between Matt Zanetti and James Machin.
Big mistake.
So, second and third. Oh, big mistake there for, who was that? That was Oz XL, and he has now fallen back behind Porsche GT, and is now coming under threat from James Allen in the number 123 Mercedes. He's filling in for Matt Simmons this week, who is not with us tonight. We're missing a couple drivers with the faster drivers tonight, but he is filling in. He was in the last time out he was in the 76 for Liam Tame, and so he's getting a sample of the BMW. Now he's getting a sample of the Mercedes. He's going to try every car that he possibly can to see which one he likes best. But XL filling in tonight as well. He's a filling driver in the 48. He's filling in for Cameron Neame in the Ferguson Motorsport Mustang. So, oh, there's contact between Allen and XL is around. He's made contact with Les Sandwich, and Frank Horvath has nowhere to go. XL gets going again, and it's very unfortunate for Frank Horvath. He just made contact and didn't really have anywhere to go in that situation. He just tried to avoid it, and XL rolled backwards. It's a very tricky situation. The stewards will have to have a look at that for sure. But that was contact between XL and Allen that started that on the exit of the chicane. Les Sandwich then got involved with a bit of side-to-side contact with XL while he was facing backwards, and then Frank Horvath had nowhere to go. So it's all happening in the back end of the top 10 and in that, inside that 10th to 20th position. It's kicking off.
Right, yes, there was actually some interesting contact there. I mean, yeah, unfortunately for the Ford driver, they were turned around, and unfortunately that's going to be a bit of a disaster for their race. They'll have damage in the car. There'll be a little bit of damage as well on the Porsche of Horvath. That's not going to be ideal. This battle, it was really primed to go off and take a little bit of an explosive direction. Sadly, we did see that happening. Now that the three-way battle continues up here, top 5, 6, and 7th position, and that is a big mistake from one of the BMWs. Is that Lansel? It is Lansel. He has been sent round at the second chicane. A little bit of contact. He got out of shape into that second part of the chicane. Little tap from the rear from another person, and it was all over. He is reset to the pits. You see another BMW going for it. Now we're looking at the car of Horvath. That is a pretty spicy chicane there, Isaac, I have to admit. We have seen some pretty intense action, a lot of mistakes. We've ended up causing some pretty nasty crashes for some of the competitors today.
Yeah, that chicane is never short of action, George, I have to say. Even when I'm racing the car, I find there's always something happening at that chicane, and that's very unfortunate for Tyler. It's so easy to overuse that first corner or that first curve and sort of spin the car, and that's what we've seen he's done. He's actually retired from the race. I can't see him in the server anymore. But we're having a look at Liam Tame at the moment, who's on screen. He's chasing after James Machin in third. He's doing a brilliant job, as we mentioned earlier. Qualified 7th, and now he's up into third, or chasing after third place, I should say, with Nick Carter right behind. So it's a TTR West Side sandwich for Liam Tame at the moment. He's got a Mustang in front of him, and he's got another equally as fast Mustang in his rearview mirror. Dan Crawley, he got past Tyler Edsel and was starting to push on, and he's on a mission. He qualified extremely well. He's inside the top 4, so he'll want to get back up to part of this battle as well. Remember, we've still got pit stops to come. Josh Green doing a wonderful job. He's got Andre Sheckers right behind him at the moment, and they're 7th and 8th, and then Sam King not too far behind these guys as well. Riley Nicholson has found his way inside the top 10, and Al Dusty just outside the top 10 now. So it's all happening at the moment, George, but these guys are just trying to find their rhythm now. We're only 10 minutes into this race, or not even 10 minutes into this race, so there's a lot that's happened in this first 10 minutes, and everyone will just be trying to find their own bit of real estate now and take a breath and focus on pushing forward in this race. close because there's still a long way to go, George.
Yeah, Josh Green doing a good job there. 2.5 seconds behind Crawley, but I don't think he's really in a position to compete with Crawley today. Crawley's had a lot of pace on him. So unless something happens in the second stint for Josh Green and he really finds some space to go and run his race, which he does have a little bit of space right now, but he's not really putting in the lap times that he needs to catch up with the BMW ahead of him. That's going to maybe cause him a little bit of concern. Certainly his engineers will be thinking about what they can do to bring him back into this race. We know he's got the pace. He's a pro driver in the 232. We know Crawley is going to be quick as well in that BMW. BMW seems to be dominating the race as Zolder at the moment, bar a couple of outstanding riders up there in the top 5. But yeah, for Josh Green, I'm not quite sure what his strategy is going to be. Do you pit early in the situation? Do you try and run long, maybe? I think maybe running long for Josh Green could be an option here. He's got a little bit of clean air, an option to maybe overtake Crawley ahead of him if things pan that way. And we suspect that Crawley may be in the pits at that half race distance in about 20 minutes time.
Yeah, well, we saw in Suzuka that the undercut can be extremely powerful. I don't know whether that exactly translates to this race as well. Obviously, it's a shorter lap around here, so it might not play as much of a factor, but that is the question that Josh Allen will be trying to, or be asking himself and trying to work out at the moment. He's got Porsche GT in front of him. He was a very quick driver in his own right, but you won't want to spend too much time trying to battle with him. So still 49 minutes to go. If this goes on much longer, I would think he'll probably try and come in early to get out of the way of this traffic and get himself in a position where he's just got a bit of clean air. You can see him looking all over the back of the Porsche GT now, having a look into the inside, but thinks better of it into turn 1. Can't make it stick. He's not close enough to the back, so he's got to get himself closer to the back of that car if he wants to make it stick. We're looking at Riley Nicholson at the moment on track. He's leading the way from Sam King and Al Dusty. This is a nice little battle pack for the back end of the top 10.
It certainly
well,
is.
These guys are doing a great job.
Certainly is, yeah, and Riley Nicholson in P9, so this is really for the top spot here in this little battle pack. 2.7 second gap between Nicholson and Shepherd's ahead. Right now, I think this Aston Martin's going to be looking in the rear mirror and going, there's a couple of very low-profile cars right behind me. There's a McLaren, there's a Ferrari. We know that Sam King's been quick in this race. He's still holding on to his start position at the moment. Done well. Little moment there for Nicholson out of the second chicane. Not ideal. Not going to help his cause in that number 6 Aston Martin. Keep an eye, though, because Sam King is lurking in that McLaren. Go McLaren. Got to have a moment of bias here somewhere. Late on the brakes there for Sam King. He's actually closed in massively in those last couple of corners. So could be seeing an overtake opportunity very, very soon for Sam King, who's showing a lot of pace today.
He's very quick. Obviously, this is his debut, as we mentioned a couple of times, in AGT, and he's doing an excellent job so far in the 417 McLaren, obviously racing for McLaren Motorsport. Only one of 2 McLarens in the field. We've seen a couple of drivers take on this second McLaren seat throughout the season. We've seen Pakitas at various points. We've seen Oz Excel in that car at times, and now we're seeing Sam King he's taking the reins, and he's doing an excellent job. He's inside the top 10. I'm sure Porsche GT, their team boss, will be very happy with that, and all of McLaren Formula 1 team obviously watching on at home and cheering them on as well.
And a certain commentator.
Job. And a certain commentator, yes, also doing an excellent job. And I believe we have another retirement from this race. It's Oz XL currently sitting in the pit lane. Number 48, Mustang, is sitting in the lane that I can see at the moment. So he is currently not. He's currently, I believe, retired from this race. We'll keep an eye on that and bring you updates as it comes. But James Machin doing a great job. He's got Liam Tame right behind me now. We saw just a few laps ago, George, how close that battle was between those two, and how Liam Tame is starting to reel him in. And now he's done just that, less than a second off the back. But I'm also looking just very closely as well, and Nick Carter is also very close to the back of Liam Tame. So this is about to become a nice little 3-way battle for the back end of the podium. Yeah,
you mentioned the sandwich before, still remaining in that configuration. Remember, 2 slices of bread in the BMWs right now, in the Fords surrounding the BMW. And yeah, 7-Eleven, of course, absolutely appropriate for this kind of situation. It's just nice, calm, smooth driving. These guys know that there's 46 minutes left on the clock. They know they've got to get through a pit stop as well. There's no point in sending it into a massive move that could cause contact. Zolder is not traditionally a good place to overtake. Now that, right there on screen, you just saw a very bad run for Carter. This is potentially where things come unstuck here. Sorry, that was for Machin. He's not looking particularly comfortable right now. Even bigger moment for Carter just behind them. So small mistakes starting to crop into the driving today. Even though we're only 15 minutes through, track temperature being 35 degrees Celsius, Isaac, these tyres are going to be starting to feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's these Mustangs, to get them to go fast, you've got to have them loose. And as the tyres start to wear, especially being quite a warm track surface, 35 degrees Celsius is not a cool track temperature. These tyres will start to get hotter and overheat, and they'll start to wear. And you can see the effects of that already starting to take place with these Mustangs. They're typically pretty good on tyres if you can set the car up right, but these guys will have them set up very loose to get the rotation through the corners. It's a very technical circuit here at Zolder, and you want maximum rotation through the turns to allow for that corner speed to come up, to give yourself that lap time, because you're spending most of the lap here turning, and they're pushing really hard, and you can see the effects of that. Liam Tame will have a more stable setup on that BMW. It's a better all-round car for circuits like this. It's what it's designed for. The Germans are good at designing a car to turn. The Americans are good at designing a car to go in a straight line, and that's not being countryist. That's just the facts of the matter, is that Mustangs, they're good in a straight line. BMWs and German-built cars, they're good in a corner.
I think some would argue that maybe the Le Mans race last year, where the Ford Mustang GT3 was introduced, maybe starts to dismiss that myth just a little bit. But nonetheless, I think we probably do agree. We'll see what happens with Cadillac entering Formula One. They're trying to redefine what it means to be an American racer. Then again, you know, they've got a few corners in NASCAR. I occasionally see the Daytona in that's reasonably spicy. And then you put, you know, SVG in there. He shows them how it's done. Let's put it that way. Nonetheless, I do agree. I mean, the Ford's actually, in this game at the very least, the Ford Mustang is very, very good to get the setup right. But that setup is very, very finicky. So really balancing. Ooh, little moment there for Boyd, and Twining actually follows him off the track momentarily. A little bit of gravel on those tyres. Going to open up an opportunity for Sinclair to maybe find a way past. Not this time. He's a lot closer than he was. But to just go back to that point ever so briefly, yeah. The Mustangs, if they're set up correctly, can be an absolute weapon, but the acceleration you've got to really reel in. So you get a lot of suspension geometry done on the rear of that car to try and make sure the power is put down nice and equally. A lot of work on the anti-roll bars, and that can really stiffen up the ride of the car. And if you do that too much, well, then you're going to find yourself not turning through the corners.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so tricky, especially in some of these cars, to get the setup just right. And I think we're seeing the effects of that today, especially with these Ferraris, which are another car that's so fickle on the setup and getting it right. We can see Sinclair here now looking for a move on the outside, and Twining lets him go. That might be a little bit of team orders there at play. These guys obviously both racing for the same team, for Victory Motorsport. So I think there's a little bit of, hey, I'm your teammate, I'm a little faster, can I go past? A little bit of shades of Formula One there, and Mark Sinclair will now set off after Matt Boyd to try and get himself up into 17th place. But these guys are doing a really good job at the moment inside the top 20. We've got 20 cars left in this race. We've had 2 retirements so far, I believe we started with 22. I'd be happy to be stood corrected, but looking at the top, we've got...
Yes, go ahead. I think it was 23 or 24, but yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've got Simon Bishop leading the way at the moment with a fair gap back to Matson. It's 3.9 seconds, almost 4 seconds at this stage is the gap between those two cars. And then there's a fairly hefty gap back to James Machin. We've got a car off somewhere. There's yellow flags I can see. I believe it's car 79. It is Matt Boyd facing the wrong way on the exit of that chicane that has caught out so many drivers today. And there goes to Cax, his teammate, past him, and that'll put Matt Boyd down into 20th place, which he'll be very frustrated by, because he was doing such a good job at that point. He was being hunted down by Mark Sinclair, so he'll have to reset now. There's a bit of damage on that car, so maybe some contact with the wall somewhere. George will have to... He's clipped the sign. He's clipped the marker as he's run wide there. You can see a little bit of damage on that BMW, so possibly some contact with a wall there at some point. You can see he's struggling to turn the car now as well, so he's got steering damage, which is just gutting for him. He's doing a great job up in 17th place.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like he went round just at that first chicane, so it might have been one of those deliveries to the BMW space program. We shall see. Looking at this battle we've got on screen at the moment, we've got Crawley, who's entered the edge of the sandwich. He's wants to become a condiment inside of this situation right here, but at the moment he's not able to participate in the battle so much. He's got Carter just ahead of him. He's starting to lose a little bit of pace to Liam Tame. Still being right on the, being a bit of a fly on the wall, being a little bit annoying, I think, for Machin. He's probably just quite keen to look ahead and not worry about what's going on behind him. But so far, these three, P3, P4, P5, have all been quite tame. Ironically, there's a lot of ironic names in AGT, ACC, we'll just make that comment. But it's been quite tame at the moment between P3, 4, 5, but Crawley has crawled his way back in and wants to become part of the situation and just upset the balance that has sort of been established between those three drivers. And he's driving well, Crawley. I mean, this is great work. Number 31 car, he's had his teammate have an awful crash at the second chicane already in this race. He was actually very lucky not to become part of that incident as well, given that there was a corner cut involved. But if he can find his way up through Carter, he may well have the pace to push Liam Tame and even match in through this race. We are about 10 minutes away from half distance, so time to start thinking about the pit strategy. Start thinking about the pit stop, when you're going to go in, how you're going to go in. Right now, I don't think I'd want to be exactly where Machin is. Carter had a bit of a problem out of the chicane there. This is an opportunity for Crawley. He's going to set it up the inside. That's really, really risky. Forces Carter to take the cut. That could have been a big accident.
Both drivers have done extremely well there to not make contact with each other. That's a very, very bold place to try and stick a move. You can see Crawley's now suffering the effects of that. He's dropping right off the back of Nick Carter, and you can see Josh Green behind as well, getting very racy with Andre Sheppers. So these guys are starting to lock and load now as well. And this becomes the point you were talking about. We're at the 38 minutes to go mark of the race, probably where you can hit and get home with tyre life. The tyres will hold on just long enough. And we've talked about, again, how powerful that undercut is, has been in the past. Should play a factor here, I would think. It's played a factor for most races this season. Tyre wear does sort of come into play the longer you run them for, but this ship's gone a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 1. But I would think if I was Dan Crawley or I was Josh Green at the moment, and I'm finding it a bit hard to get past the car in front of me, I'm probably thinking, do I come into the lane? Do I pit now, get some fresh air, get some clean tyres, and push as hard as I can, set some really fast laps, try and get ahead of these guys before they come in for their stop? Because that's going to be the key here, is track position. And it's really difficult to overtake around here, as we've seen so far. These guys are making it really hard for the car behind to get past, and no one's here to make a walk in the park, that's for sure. Riley Nicholson getting very loose there. Is he going to catch it? Yes, he is. He's just caught. That's brilliant car control. He used so much curb. He got caught up by that little sausage curb that we've spoken about during qualifying that just throws the car. And he's done an excellent job to save that and not make any contact with the wall. That has to be the save of the day, George.
I think it's pretty up there, yeah. He certainly had a big moment. Nearly became part of the Aston Martin space program, which I do mention a few times. There's a lot of Aston Martins that do consent, just given the way their suspension is set up. But that chicane is so deadly. Just to hold on very nicely. And I'm loving this battle right now between Sheppers and Green. This has been really spicy. And in that moment, a previous lap, the entry, he actually got a really bad entry into that last chicane, got a bad exit through it, did Sheppers. Then he had the Green right on his tail, and smartly he held that middle row, forced him to stay behind, forced Green to stay behind, and then took a shallow line into turn 1, knowing that he's still not ahead and that he know where to go. So really smart driving at the moment from Andre Sheppers. He's doing really well in that Ferrari to hold off what looks to be right now a very fast 232 Ford. That Ferrari is going to be suffering on those tyre life, I can tell you, by this point. At these temperatures, Ferrari is not going to be feeling particularly well, and Andre Sheppers just handling the pressure at the moment very nicely. The other battles around the grid looking to have calmed down ever so slightly. We'll keep an eye on Green as he makes a good run through the first chicane. Now down into Turleman. This is where all the action has been here today so far. Looks like a decent run for both of them. That might have been a track cut there, Isaac, for Sheppers. How many of those he's got left?
Just trying. I love if this game would give me the information on how many track cuts these guys have got, because I'd be fascinated to know how quickly they use them. We saw a couple of drivers at Circuit of the Americas that would pretty much use them within the first sort of 10 minutes of the race, and you think there's still 20 minutes to go, and they're already getting a drive-through for their track limits penalties. But I'd be very intrigued to know where some of these guys are at, because some of the lines they're taking to hold these positions are very defensive, very sort of aggressive on the curb usage. But Shepard's doing a great job at the moment to hold a fast charging Josh Green behind. Again, you talked about how the tyre life on that Ferrari probably starting to go the way of down and worse. But Josh Green, he'll also be in the same boat in that Mustang. We talked about how Taylor just the understeer that he got through that second corner, just trying to push as hard as he can, and those tyres starting to just get a little bit overheated. Dan Crawley is still sticking with Matchin at the moment. He is not too far off the back of the 711 Mustang. He's got a good exit out of that chicane, the first chicane, on the run down to the second chicane on the back end of the second sector. This is where he made that really bold, audacious move. He's not close enough this time to do anything like that. You can see they're very aggressive on the use of the curbs as well. And a great run out of there for both those guys. And these guys are just sort of going tit for tat at the moment. Dan Crawley pulls a little bit back on one lap, and then Nick Carter just finds a little bit of time in a sector and pulls that gap back out again. So they're very evenly matched at the moment. And Liam Tame is also quite evenly matched with James Machin at the moment. These guys are battling for the back end of the podium, and they're starting to reel in Matt Zanetti by the looks of it. If I'm looking at the dot on the screen, no, it's not Matt Zanetti. That is Matt Boyd. It's still a Matt, but it's not the Matt that they're looking for. It's the wrong Matt.
Yes, just like on Tatooine when we were trying to find the right droids, today on Earth we're unable to find the right Matt. But yes, back marker is starting to play a little bit of effect here. Wider entry line there for Crawley. He's so good on the brakes, and he might actually have the inside line into 4. Will it be? He is right there. It's not really enough to keep his nose in there, so he does back out through that corner, but forces Carter to go very, very deep. He's cut across the track, and that nearly opened up the inside line for Crawley to take that, but unfortunately for him, he's just not too close to make that happen. But yeah, big pressure on Carter right now. This is a nice battle. We've got a BMW behind a Ford, a BMW behind a Ford, and another BMW behind a Ford. And you're starting to see that the characteristics of these BMWs. That's a big crash. That's someone pulling out the way, I suspect, and that is the number 79 car. So that is Boyd, correct. But you're starting to see the dynamic at play between these cars. The BMW great on the brakes into these corners, but it's not really a situation where the Fords can keep up. But on the exit, they just pull away. Nearly a moment there for the 31 car. What a switchback by Crawley, side by side now, but it's inside line for Carter, so it's really his game to lose at the moment. He'll brake nice and late. A little bit of contact between the two. This is fantastic stuff. Will Crawley try hold the outside line? He does, because he wants that inside line. Big contact, though, between the two, and that is paint exchange between the 31 and the 711. Carter continues his charge in P5. I think that was a bit ambitious from Crawley, Isaac.
Yeah, very ambitious through that final set of corners. That last corner tightens up so much through the apex that it's really hard to stay up the inside of another car. But he's done a good job as Crawley to try and get around the outside in the first place. But I think that second phase of that corner, he should have just given it to Nick Carter. There'll be damage on both of those cars now. You can see, I'm surprised actually that neither car spun there. The game did a great job to keep both cars pointing in the right direction and moving as they are, but you can see Crawley's dropped off the back now, maybe carrying a little bit of damage. This has been doing wonders for Shepherds and Green, who have now started to, the gap's not quite closed right up, but the gap was massive earlier. It was over 2 seconds. It's now down under 2 seconds. It was over 2.5, I should say. And they've closed it right up now. So these guys are chasing up. And Matt Boyd's still sitting there, which is frustrating because that's going to be yellow flags in that zone for as long as he sits there. So he's going to have to move at some point if he doesn't want, or if we want to get back to being able to race in that section of corners, because it's going to be really annoying if you're side by side here and you have to back out because of the yellow flag. So we need to return to the lane soon. But he's moving again now. So there we go. So he's finally moving again, which is good. So those yellow flags. So we've got a car in the lane. I believe it could be to Cax, though. It is to Cax. So it's none of our leaders. I got very excited for a second there, George. I thought we had one of our leaders blinking. We do, actually. We do have one of our leaders blinking, and it's Josh Green. So he has been stuck behind Shepherds for a while now, and he said enough is enough. I'm coming into the lane for my mandatory stop with 31 minutes to go. So we're almost at the halfway point of this race. And Josh Green is the first one to bite the bullet, which will give us a great read, George, on how powerful this undercut can be.
Exactly. This is going to be the really key timing in the race. We're a minute away from where most people will go. I think that's a smart move from Green. He's been stuck behind Shepherd, who's done such a great job. Super, super smart on all of his defensive moves. He's kept that forward in the dirty air, chewing up his tyres all the way through. So this is a really sensible play by Green. Gets in, he knows he's probably got the pace over Shepherd's, but just can't find a way past. Does it in the pit stop. That's going to be the way to do it. Let's see, though, if Andre Shepherd can pick up the pace here just that little bit, get a good couple of laps under his belt, then get into the pits, efficient pit stop, get out. He has got a really good chance because that pit lane exit spits you out into the braking zone of turn 1. That means there's an opportunity to launch it still up the inside and retain the position. So really, Andre Shepherd's kind of in the position to lose at the moment, but Green doing what he needs to do to find his way ahead of Shepherd and maybe join this battle. Because, yeah, as you were saying before, Isaac, Shepherd and Green, they were really kind of crawling their way back up. Crawley has decided it's time for the pit stop, as has Denetti, as has Machin. 30-minute timer, right on the dot, Isaac, and here we go. The floodgates are opening.
Yep, it's all happening now. So I actually just noticed Josh Green does go typically a lap down. The length of the pit time around here versus the lap time means that you pretty much go a lap down to leaders. You get close to going a lap down to the cars that are around you. But this will serve Green well because most of these guys have come in and have gotten out of the way. So he'll be able to push on now with some clean air. Simon Bishop will be pushing on now as well. He won't want to get undercut from Matt Denetti. There was a fair gap between the two of them. But you never know. If it's a small mistake, you can leave yourself vulnerable to the undercut. So he'll be pushing to get back to the lane as quickly as possible. Crawley is serving his stop. We've got most of our lead cars in now. You can see pretty much a solid line of cars in the pits. Denetti, Machin, Crawley. Denetti's now on his way out, and he will rejoin the circuit. Is there much traffic around him? I can't quite tell. There's a car going through turn 1 at the moment. That is Drew Griffin, so he'll just let him go. He'll be sort of slot in between himself and Frank Horvath. We've still got cars in the lane. Our leader chooses to stay out for another lap. So Simon Bishop is pushing on with his stint. Not ready for his stop just yet. But yeah, there's big names in the lane. Dan Crawley, Riley Nicholson, Sam King, Les Sandwich, James Allen. Riley Nicholson is away, so he'll jump a couple of cars maybe here as they all file back out and onto the circuit. James Machin is back out, Dan Crawley is back out, and Liam Tame is yet to stop. So you can see the little one next to the driver number, George, for those of you who are watching at home, actually denotes cars who are yet to serve their mandatory stop. If they are just got a green box next to the car number, then that means they've served their mandatory stop and they're good to go.
Indeed, yeah. It looks like Crawley's had a really bad stop here because he is behind Josh Green, oddly enough. So I don't quite know what's happened there, but Green has found his way up into currently P9. This is all switched up because we have 6 more drivers ahead of him to come into the pits, so that will switch significantly. Looks like Carter and Shepherd have decided to come to the pits as well, so this will be a big tell. Has Machin done enough to hold onto the position? I suspect he probably has, but with Green making such a good pit stop and getting himself out ahead of Crawley, or at the very least Crawley having a really bad pit stop, you can see the distance that he is behind. He's a couple of quarters at the very least, so he's right out of that battle for P3 that he was involved in, the four-way battle. Now finds himself in P10. I suspect we're going to see a bunch of cars come out of this pit stop, such as Carter, such as Shepherd's, who will also be ahead. Bear in mind, Shepherd's was the one that Green was trying to undercut, so Green coming down the main pit straight right now. Will Shepherd's be out? He's coming out of the pit lane. Looks like a slow one for him. He might have had damage, and Green will get that position, and he'll take that away from Shepherd's. So well done, Josh Green. He's done it in the pit lane. That's not a very tidy turn 1. Didn't need to push through there at all. And actually that allowed Shepherd's, it's allowed Shepherd's to come straight back at him. Nearly gets contact with the rear wing, but I think Green was hoping to get a couple of seconds on him there, and he would have probably got about a second had he not made that mistake at turn 1. Now Shepherd's with fresher tyres getting right on his rear wing. That's exciting stuff.
Absolutely, it's very exciting. As you mentioned, Shepherd's probably trying to fix a bit of damage that he might have had. I'd say Dan Crawley also was repairing damage that he sustained from that contact with Nick Carter at the final corner. But Josh Green, just showing how powerful his undercut can be. Regardless of fixing damage, he's come out ahead of the car that he was directly behind and a car that was well up the road from him as well. So he's done a great job to find himself now potentially within a fight for the podium. We've got 3 cars yet to stop. Liam Tame is in the lane. So this is going to be good for me to see and for everyone at home to see, George, because Liam Tame was in a close battle with James Machin, who's coming towards the final sequence of corners now. So this is going to be the telltale sign as Liam Tame is now exiting the lane. He's just finished his stop. Where is James Machin? Oh, Shepard's going up the inside of Josh Green here into the final corner. We saw this happen earlier with Carter and Crawley, and that's a brilliant move from Andre Sheppers. He made the move up the inside into the penultimate corner, the first phase of that chicane, and then hung it around the outside into the final corner, and he's now got himself ahead of Josh Green, which is key track position for Andre Sheppers, because we saw he was ahead coming into the pit stop. He was behind after that, and he's made quick work on fresher tyres, and he's made that look easy, I'll be honest, George. He's made that look like he can do it with his eyes closed.
Yeah, that was a nice move. I mean, up the inside and held it nicely. Nearly had a bit of contact, a bit of wide just there. But yeah, Sheppard is now back in the position he wanted to be in, and potentially got the pace to start chasing down Carter. But I mean, I don't think Green's going to let him go. This is going to be a fantastic little battle all the way to the end. And bear in mind, this could potentially turn into a top 5 position for these two. We've still got 2 who need to come up the pits, as you said before. Isaac Griffin sitting there for that 4.8-second gap between him and Denetti. Denetti, of course, has pits, and Griffin will drop a whole bunch of positions, but Bishop will be in soon. Oh, Sheppers has made a bit of a mistake on the exit of Turleman. Does manage to recover the car, though, so holds on to this position nicely. And this man is driving the wheels off the Ferrari right now. He is dialed in. I suspect he loves this track. I suspect he's been here a lot, and now he's really going for it. Got a bit of blue flag traffic ahead, though, to navigate. I think that is the 160 car just ahead of them, so that'll get out of their way soon. And surprisingly, the Ford is actually doing very, very well on the brakes there into most of these corners, and it's the Ferrari that's pulling away from the Ford. I don't know what I'm seeing. I think they might have the wrong car configuration today, Isaac.
Well, I know from personal experience, as our leader comes in the lane, I know from personal experience, Josh Green is very, very good historically on the brakes. He's very similar to Daniel Ricciardo in that sense. He's very aggressive, very late on the brakes, and always manages to somehow pull the car up and make it stop. So I think that's why we're seeing Josh Green as aggressive on the brakes as he is as compared to Sheppers. We're going to drive-through penalty for track limits for car 79. So the first victim of our track limits penalties has been named, and it is Matt Boyd down in 20th place. But our leader is in the pit lane, and he's serving his mandatory stop. Where is Matt Denetti? He is coming along the penultimate straight now, and I would think that'll be, as Simon Bishop pulls away to exit the lane, I'd say that'll be a fairly comfortable lead for Simon Bishop, despite the undercut from Matt Denetti. So Simon Bishop doing a great job out in front so far. Andrew Griffin yet to stop, and he's continuing on for another lap. I'm just seeing him come through the final sessions. So he's running long in this final stint, which is this stint, I should say, which is a bold call. So he's going to have very fresh tyres for the end of this race. So I'm very curious to see what he can do once he does come in for his stop, because he was down the order. You can see a car off circuit there, just keeping out of the way one of the lap cars, that is to Cax, making sure he stays out of the way of any lap cars. And the gap between Bishop and Denetti about the same as it was prior to a stop. But speaking of gaps, look at Nick Carter. He's all over the back at the moment, George, of Liam Tame.
Here we go. Good battle on now. This is potentially for a 4th place position, because we have one person out of the order at the moment. That's Griffin, who will drop significantly down the order once he does come to the pit stop. Brave choice to go long, by the way. Very impressive. 35 degrees Celsius track temperature. So that is a brave choice. We'll see if it works out for him. But yeah, Tame at the moment under the massive pressure. The Ford barreling down behind him. Through the chicane we go. Clean run through that part of the course for both of them. Really, it's going to be on Tame to maintain his confidence and calm right now. He was battling up there with Machin. He's got a couple of seconds on him at the moment, so that's all been done in the pit stop. And Tame will want to be back in that battle, because that is a battle for P3 in this race. And if he's got the pace to do it, he will need to start thinking about when and how he can start to force Machin into a mistake, or find a way around, figure out exactly where he's faster on track. And it may be that he just hasn't found that way yet before these 3 running line astern for so long in this race, and now there's a little bit of a gap. It hasn't really come down all that much. Last couple of corners is about 0.2 of a second reduction, but now it's gone back up to 2.2 seconds. So I don't know if Liam Tame's maybe feeling that pressure and starting to lose his lines a little bit, but he should really have the pace to catch up to Machin. Machin's doing well to keep ahead. 12-second gap down to up to Griffin. another 8 seconds to Donetti. So the guys with the least amount of screen time so far, Bishop and Donetti, doing well up front. 5-second gap between them. This battle does continue. Tricky conditions though, Isaac. 20 minutes remaining. You've just come out of the pit stop, you've got fresh tyres, but do you think about maybe conserving them just that little bit? And I do wonder if Liam Payne's taking that point of view.
Well, we know he's a very smart racer. He's got a lot of experience in these cars and a lot of experience in sim racing in general. So he'll know what his strategy is. I think he did sort of concede earlier in the week that this isn't the circuit that he's strongest at. It's not his favourite circuit, so he does not have the best time around here a lot of the races that he does. But he's doing a good job so far, it should be said. He's a visual fourth overall once Griffin does come into the lane. But I think you're right. I think he's just conserving tyres a little bit, making sure that when he gets to that last 10 minutes that he has the better tyres over Nick Carter, because he knows that these Mustangs are fairly heavy on tyres around here. You saw them sliding around at about the 20-minute mark of that first stint. So if he can get through the next 10 minutes relatively unscathed, I think you could see him start to move away from Nick Carter. As you can see a little bit here now, he's put about 2/10 in this lap on Nick Carter, and then start to reel in James Machin potentially if the tyre life is still there. But he wants to keep a bit of a gap to the car ahead, because you don't want to sit right in behind Machin and overheat those tyres, and then you have to use them more, and that causes more tyre wear, which means that he won't have as much tyre life when he wants to go through the end of this race. So I think you're right, just a bit of a smart move. And just on that note, Andrew Griffin is coming to the lane as well. Ooh. This is Dan Crawley's a man we've seen time and time again this season just prove why he is why he is currently leading the Pro-Am standings, because he's just so consistent. And even when he has a little moment or he has damage like we saw and he has to repair that in the lane, he just pushes on. He doesn't give up and he comes back through the field, and that's what he's doing now. He's now got his sights set on the 232 car of Josh Green in front of him, and Sheppers will want to go with him. He won't want to let him out of his sights, because he'll want to have another crack at Green. I don't think that battle is anywhere near over before the end of this race, but there's not much threat from behind at the moment. We've got Nicholson, who is about 11 seconds off the back of Sheppers, though those guys are sort of running their own race further back down the order. But Green about 6.5 seconds off Nick Carter. You'd think that's pretty much set that top 5 in terms of who's in it, unless there's a major mistake now, but I don't think it's far from so. But Dan Crawley a little bit loose on the exit there, and this has opened the door for Sheppers to have a look into the final corner. We know he likes to move up the inside here, but he's not quite close enough. Dan Crawley will try to maximise the exit here, get back the power down as early as possible while keeping that rear end stable. Runs it all the way out to that inside wall, or now becomes the outside wall for turn 1, to protect the move around the outside from Sheppers. We've got a very good exit, and that's smart driving from both these guys. Sheppers just looking to pounce on Crawley, who is pushing very hard. That gap to Josh Green is starting to close ever so slightly, and Sheppers, as I said, will want to go with him, George, because these guys, I don't think it's anywhere near over this battle for 6th place.
Yeah, certainly not. But Shepard's a few mistakes there. He's wide at turn 1, didn't really get the power down. Car looked unstable as he entered 2. I think he's cooked his tyres a little bit too soon. But he made that initial move on green, really pushing, and he actually had the tyre advantage over it too. But maybe that's why he was able to pit green so easily. So green is taking it a little bit easier, just looking after the tyres that little bit more. And I think Shepard's is right on the edge of where this car and where his ability is sort of allowing him to drive. If he's pushing any harder here, he's just going to cook the tyres. I mean, the track has cooled down just that little bit. We started at 37 degrees Celsius on the track. We're now down at 34 degrees Celsius. But you can still cook your tyres so easily with a track like this. One little slip of the rear, the tyres start to get out of control, and it really is that downward spiral, and you can't really get out of it. Once you're in that downward spiral, you have to back off by a second a lap to really cool down the tyres. It's typical stuff, and especially in endurance racing scenarios. You're racing for 3, 6, 9, 12 hours, and your stints are a full hour and a half. For some cars that can make it that distance. Tyre management becomes a massive, massive thing, and you're just looking to find the bite point of the tyres. You're constantly having to adjust it and wheel yourself back. See another moment, another slide through turn 2 for Shepard's, and that car is looking really unruly. I think this might be it for Shepard's, unless he backs off now and makes a late push at the end. I don't think those tyres are in good enough shape to really push to keep up with Crawley or go for green again. That was another close one.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, George. I think the play now is he has to back the car. So the gap's out to a second now. It's all about cooling those tyres down, just readjusting those front tyres. We saw Liam Tame doing that earlier, and he's now up on the back of James Machen and pushing for that 3rd place. So that's the sort of smart moves that you see some of these top guys making, and that's what Andrew Shepard needs to do now. This is Andrew Griffin pushing after Mark Sinclair, and he's only about half a second off. Liam Tame also about half a second off the back of, I believe that's James Machen in front of him. It is. Sorry, I was looking at the screen with the 2 cars on it, and that is, I would say that's a very smart move from Liam Tame. He's not ditched, but he's pulled away from the back of Nick Carter, and I think Nick Carter's probably starting to fall into a phase now where his tyres are starting to cook. He was pushing really hard to keep up with Liam Tame, like we saw Shepard's trying to do with Dan Crawley, and the tyres got overcooked and he's fallen off the back. But Liam Tame, who just stayed off the back of Machen for a little while, has now caught up, and he's within a second. I think with 13 minutes to go, this is going to be a last-minute push from Liam Tame to find himself in the podium places, because James Machen will be pushing that car to the absolute limit now and using every single bit of those tyres that he can. He's got clean air in front of him, so that'll help him keep the tyre pressure and the tyre temperature down, whereas Liam Tame needs to sit in behind him, which will drive up those temperatures. So preserving that tyre life early on is paying dividends for him now, isn't it, George?
Truly the battle for the ages. Dirty air versus clean air, pushing hard versus not pushing too much. It really is, and you've got to walk such a fine tightrope for it. At the end of the day, you know, you're looking after the contact patch that you have with the road. Everything stems from that. You're braking, you're accelerating, your ability to turn corners. And if you don't look after it correctly and understand the situation that you're in, you will find yourself with a problem. Machen has not had a good run through the last couple of corners there, Boulder. This is the one that I can't pronounce well, but Liam Tame looking for a move, just does stick the nose out a little bit, says, you know, you should probably take a more defensive line. Machen does so, and that's compromised him massively. Bit of a slide out of the last corner for Machen. This could be the opportunity that Tame has been waiting for. He's right on the rear wing. Little whisper slipstream. Is it going to be a dive up the inside? No, it's not. He's going to back out of that, which is a sensible move to make. Forces the 193 car yet again onto a defensive line. Has another little look into turn 2, then opts for the wider line. That'll not be great for the left-hand tyres, but Machen defending very, very well under a lot of psychological pressure from this man right now. By the way, that corner, Boulderberg Haspelt is the name of that last quarter. Turn 8, fantastic names around here. Good luck pronouncing them at all. This battle spicing up. Tame is after it.
Absolutely, and if I'm James Machen right now, I know it's tough to overtake around here. I'm backing up Liam Tame into Nick Carter, who you can see is back within 2 seconds of Liam Tame, so that's closing. So yeah, if I'm James Machen right now, I'm slowing it down a little bit, especially in the corners where I know that Tame cannot overtake me. I'm getting good drive out of the corners that I need to, and performing where it counts. But I want to put a bit of pressure on Liam Tame, and to do that, I need the help of my teammate, who is closing in. He's now 1.5 seconds off the back of these guys. You see, Machin goes a little bit wide there. This has opened the door for Liam Tame. He looks to the outside, and he's got that move done. That is absolutely textbook overtake up the inside from Liam Tame. Machin overcooks the braking zone a little bit, went a little bit too deep. Has a look up the inside of the final corner, but isn't close enough to make that move stick. So he's going to have to fall in behind now, and that is the free kick, the gift that Liam Tame was looking for, because he knows he has the pace to be up in that third place, and hopefully now he can start to pull away from these guys. But yeah, we were just talking about Machin and how good a job he was doing at defending and the plan that he needed to follow, and the commentator's curse has kicked in, and he's overcooked the run slightly into the Jochen. I can't pronounce the end of it, but it's like named after Jochen Rin, that corner that he went too deep into.
By the way, the box there, just for your information, the box there just means turn, so or corner. So you can ignore all the box in there, which is great fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but no, I completely agree. And at the end of the day, Tame did a really good work. Actually, that's not so good work through there. He nearly became part of the BMW space program. A very esteemed place to be. Machin's going to maybe have another little look there, but you know, the tyre life is the big kicker here, and Tame has done the work that he needed to do. Clearly, Machin not able to get the traction that he needs. I think those tyres are absolutely cooked, and I'd love to think that he's trying to bring his teammate in. You can see he's understeering absolutely everywhere. He's losing pace. His teammate's just going to overtake him almost as easily, I suspect, as Tame does. You can see him make the corner very nicely there, easy as, but Machin does not make that apex yet again. So he is understeering in that Ford right now. The tyres are completely cooked, and what was a P3 position may end up being a P5 position. He's going to lose out to his teammate with 9 minutes to go. So literally what we were saying, Isaac, I mean, we can call it the commentator's curse, but I think the writing was unfortunately on the tarmac for that one, and Machin struggling.
Yeah, that's just what we see. I did touch on earlier, if you're matching when Liam Tame's coming up behind you, you know Liam Tame's coming. He's a fast guy. You're pushing as hard as you can, and that just means that despite having the clean air, we talk about the advantage of clean air versus dirty air, you're still using the tyres more than you'd like to.
I have to interrupt, Isaac, because we've had a change of lead.
Oh, we have!
We have had a change. We have been so absorbed.
Huge.
We've been so absorbed in all of these other battles that we have actually not noticed that a change of lead has occurred. And Simon Bishop, despite having the fastest lap, has found himself 4 seconds behind Matt Dernedy, who is running now in the lead of this race. So we'll have to try and find out exactly what's happened there, but it must have been a mistake of some kind. Yeah, please do look for the replay and let us know. But Matt Dernedy leading this race with 8 minutes to go. The guys with the least amount of screen time, unfortunately that's bitten us. That's a broadcaster's curse right there. And Matt Dernedy has pulled a fast one on us here in the commentary box. Bishop, whatever mistake he's made, it's a big one. I don't think he's got damage on the car. Looks like he's good to go, and he's already catching back up. 0.4 of a second has been reeled in already, and Bishop has got his work cut out for him with 7.5 minutes to go. Have you found anything on the replay?
Not yet. I'm still looking.
You focus on finding it. We need to know what this story. We need to know what this story is. So, ladies and gentlemen, big shift up in this race. Liam Tame, of course, too far behind to capitalise from this. But Machin going for it again, so he might have just had a chance to back off a little bit, get those tyres back in the zone, refocus on where he needs to put the car, adjust his driving style ever so slightly. Now he's making another push after Tame. What was a couple of very scrappy laps in that Ford. Now Tame looking a little bit worse for wear, so maybe there's a curse of clean air today as well. It's entirely possible. Once you get into clean air, you are no longer the one following, so it allows you just to unfocus a little bit, start missing those corners. Do we have some confirmation on what's happened to Bishop?
And I apologise for my very loud reaction there, but I'm just watching the chicane that has caught pretty much every single driver out today. That first chicane in Sector 2, he has just crossed up on the way into that first phase of that corner, and has just spun and gone not quite to the BMW Space Program, but just had a little meeting with Barry R, as you would call it, and just facing the wrong way. And it took him a little bit to get going again, which meant that he dropped right down behind Matt Dernedy. But a rare mistake from Simon Bishop in the corner that has sort of just, it's caught everyone out today. We're coming up on that corner now, so I'll be able to point out for everyone on stream just where he has sort of lost the car, but you can see he's coming down towards, this is turn 3 at the moment, and then through here he's overlapped a lap car, which has not played a factor in this incident at all. I can assure you I looked at that very closely, but coming into this bit here, he just gets crossed up in the braking zone, and right there he loses the car and just goes straight off to the right hand side. And very rare mistake from Simon Bishop, who we talk about a lot. He's just one that rarely ever makes a mistake, and he'll be absolutely kicking himself because he was in a very comfortable lead of the race, and he's just sort of handed it to Matt Zanetti, who now leads the way. Simon Bishop is reeling him back in, which I'm rubbing my hands here, George, I don't know about you, at the potential of a battle for the lead with just a few minutes to go, because Simon Bishop is not too far behind at the moment, but it's still going on for third place as well. We've got too many things to look at now.
That's exciting end to this race. So we did have a little bit of a cooling off period during the pit stop area and just after that, but I tell you what, the action is right back on. 5 minutes now to go in this race. Bishop is catching up. He was at 4.4 seconds behind. That's now 2.4 seconds. I think he's got enough time to get back into shooting distance. This is going to be an exciting finish for the win of this race, and an exciting finish is brewing as well for P3 as Tame leads match in from Carter. 5 seconds back to Green. It's not going to be a person who's going to be participating in this final battle. Odd line for both the Fords through the final corner. Jackie Ix now into turn 1. Tame's got to hold on for 4.5 minutes. Going to be about 4 laps to go in this race. And Bishop has got to keep cutting that time out. He's taken another 0.2 of a second so far. And these are the stories that are going to play out today. We've also got Crawley chasing after Green down in P7 at the moment. Wants to take that P6 position away. He's done well to get past Sheppers earlier on. Crawley is going to be right in the box seat for this one. He might even get to catch a little bit of a glimpse of the three-way battle that's happening ahead of him. 3 battles, Isaac. 4 minutes to go. 4 laps to go. This is going to come down to the wire. Danetti's made a mistake, and Bishop is right on his tail now, under 2 seconds.
That's getting close. Make that 4 battles, because Andrew Griffin is closing up on the back of Josh Allen, or James Allen, I should say. We saw that Griffin was one of the guys to pit very late in this race. He's been making waves through this field to try and catch back up to the likes of Al Dusty and Les Sandwich. And he's now caught back up to the Mercedes, the 1-2-3 Mercedes of James Allen. And Dan Crawley, sorry, getting all my drivers confused now. Dan Crawley doing a great job reeling in Josh Green. 3 minutes to go now. The gap between Matt Zanetti and Simon Bishop.
We have lost Isaac for a moment there. There we go, your microphone has returned.
I'm back. I apologise. I think my computer has decided that there's too much going on for it to...
The computer
too much action.
is rubbing its left and right keys together. It's super excited. It's overheating, as we all are at this track today. 34 degrees Celsius on track, 28 degrees Celsius, and its optimum conditions has been all race. 2.5 minutes to go. Oh, Green, he is in struggle town right now. He is in a tough situation. The gap between P1 and P2, Isaac, now nearly down to under a second, but 2.5 minutes to go. They are about halfway through a lap right now, so this could be 3 laps to go. It'll be very, very close. It could only be 2. If it's 2, I don't know, Bishop's going to have to launch an attack unlike any we've seen today. It's under a second now. Here we go. It's the last couple of laps, the battle for the lead. And the lead and the win of this race is up for grabs. Zanetti being handed it on a silver platter, but as they say, never trust a silver platter.
That's exactly right. You never trust the silver platter because you never know who's actually put something on it. So this is going to be close. 2 minutes to go. I'd say this will be this lap and 1 more. So he's got, what? 2 more chances, essentially, or 2 more laps to get this sorted as Simon Bishop. He's really close to the back of him now. Matt Zanetti, the pressure is on him. I would also say there is a fair amount of pressure on Simon Bishop because it's so difficult to overtake around here, so you have to be the one to make that authority move. Matt Zanetti can just sort of set himself up to get good runs out of the corner, and he can get away with it, essentially, but he's going to be feeling the pressure. He's got one of the most successful sim racers in Australia and New Zealand bearing down his neck at the moment. Aggressive curb use from both those drivers in that sector. That's where we saw Simon Bishop come undone earlier in this race. The reason he is now behind Matt Zanetti. Both drivers using the track limits as much as they can. They don't want to get a curb strike, but they don't want to give the car in front or behind any sort of room. We've got 1 minute and 5 seconds to go, so when we cross the line, this will be it. There will be one more lap to go. Nick Carter is up into 3rd place. Liam Tame is down to 5th. So this has been an absolute mega battle. Something almighty has happened down here with 1 lap to go in this race. These guys, TTL Westside boys, are still going at it. Liam Tame dropped right off the back of these guys. Now Dan Crawley has gotten past Josh Green for 6th place. So it's all happening as Matt Dinetti crosses the line with 1 lap to go. He's got 1 lap to make it count, to become a first-time AGT GT3 winner. He goes through the first corner lovely. The second corner, can he get the car control? He pulls it up, makes the apex quite nicely, but Simon Bishop is right there with him. He's not letting him go. This is going to come right down to the final corner. This is all about car control for these two guys now. This is all about maximizing your exit. As we come down towards this chicane now, the first of 3 chicanes. Can they get the car through here nicely? Brilliant curb use from both those guys. 4 wheels off the ground for Matt Dinetti, and I believe that was 4 wheels off the ground for Simon Bishop as well. These guys are leaving nothing on track. The timer has hit 0. So this is it. When they cross the line, that will be the race. Matt Dinetti has Simon Bishop right behind him for company now. There's nothing in it. These guys are pushing each other all the way to the end. Simon Bishop, he's right there. He's having a sniff. Matt Dinetti covers the inside line as we head into Jochen Ring. This is the place. This is where he has to make it done. He's going up the inside. Is Simon Bishop. Matt Dinetti's gone too deep in the corner, and Simon Bishop has got him. This is going to have to be a very late move for Matt Dinetti if he wants to make the move up the inside into the final corner. Can he make it stick? No, he can't. Simon Bishop will hold on if he can get the exit. The run out of the final corner was very nice for Matt Dinetti. There's a slight overlap with the 2 cars, but Simon Bishop is going to hold on. Simon Bishop will win the Belgian face-off. Matt Dinetti in 2nd, and Nick Carter, if we jump back further down the field, is going to hold on to 3rd place. The man that was 5th at one stage and looked like he was out of this as OzXL gets a drive-through penalty on the final lap for track limits. But Nick Carter take a bow. 6th place at one point in this race. We thought he was out of contention for that top 3 spot. We thought it was just between James Machin and Liam Tame, who's dropped down to 8th. So Dan Crawley moves up into 5th place. Liam Tame must have some sort of damage on the car, or he's just completely lost the tyres because he is down in 8th place. So something monumental has happened there for Liam Tame to drop from 3rd to 8th. So Dan Crawley in 5th, Josh Green 6th, Sheppers in 7th. Liam Tame will be 8th. Riley Nicholson crosses the line for his best result of the season in 9th. Sam King for McLaren, 10th on debut. Al Dusty will come home 11th on his return to AGT. And Les Samwith is going to come home 11th in this race. Wow, George, that was one of the best final laps I have seen in quite a while.
Fantastic racing there, and unfortunate for Matt Dinetti, who made a big error at Boulderbug Haspelt. That's turn 8. He just went a little bit too deep, and Simon Bishop did not need any other encouragement to launch it down the inside. That man has got a keen racing sense, like a great white shark smelling blood in the ocean. He so did. Dinetti unfortunately became the victim of that one. Nearly held on, did really well out of Terlemenbocht in turn 7 as they barreled down the hill. Just couldn't hold on for that last bit. Big congratulations to Sam King, by the way. McLaren takes the win for the AM class and in the McLaren and in the top 10. Massive congratulations there. Crawley did well, crawled his way back up to P5. Yeah, that is not going to get old all season long and for any future seasons as well. Green gutted for him, but wasn't able to hold on. Sheppers nearly caught back up to him. But the big story out of all of that, of course, was Simon Bishop making a mistake at the Terlemenbocht in turn 7, turning himself around, at Klein chicane, I should say, turning himself around, and then over the course of 5 minutes, making up over 5 seconds of race gap and retaking the lead on the last lap, 3 corners from the end. And boy, oh boy, that finish was as close as it could be, 0.146. And I thought Bishop had absolutely mucked it up He was very shallow into that final chicane, and Jack Yix compromised his exit, and he couldn't get the power down. I tell you, Matt Donetti, he nearly got one back on the Great White Shark today.
He absolutely did. It's the first time I've ever seen Simon Bishop make a mistake in this, in anything really. He's always so millimeter perfect, and he showed that on that final lap. He made a slight mistake into that final corner, which opened the door for Matt Donetti, but he just parked the car in just the right spot to make it too difficult for Matt Donetti to get around the outside to get alongside for the overlap. And if he got alongside, we've seen in both sim racing and real life motorsport before, that side draft can be very powerful. Simon Bishop would have known that. So that was very smart positioning of his car to just prevent Matt Donetti from getting alongside. But yeah, that was a very close finish, and there was a lot happening up and down the field, and I'm sure there'll be a lot for all drivers to unpack as we head into the evening here at Belgium, at lovely Belgium. But that was, I'm still just sort of processing in my head what I just witnessed, because there was a lot to happen. There was nothing for about 20-30 minutes, and then it all sort of in the last 20 minutes just kicked off, and everyone decided, there's a race on here, we should probably race.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the last 10 minutes was just extreme. We saw the build-up starting to happen, and then those last 5 minutes, everyone else just started, it's probably about time that I use the rest of these tires and absolutely go for it. And yeah, that created some fantastic racing at the end there. We had a battle for P7, we had a battle for P5, we had a battle for P3, which did unfortunately kind of explode a little bit, with Tame clearly making this mistake at some point and allowing Machin and Carter to get through. And then that clearly allowed Carter to take advantage of the situation. So we'll obviously go and review and have a little look and see what the antics were there. But yeah, big battle, and really gutted actually for Matt Donetti. It's something I've been watching his career for a couple of years now in sim racing across a number of platforms. He's doing incredibly well. He's a driver that just gets better and better and better. But as you can see there, he was no match for the pace of Simon Bishop. 5 seconds caught up at the end, and Simon Bishop showing he's truly a world-class driver. We know he's a GT World Series driver. We know he's just the best of guys. Never wants to have his picture on anything, but I tell you, his name means speed, and it certainly has been at Zolder today. What a race. Short laps, feisty laps, a nice little cool-down period on a very sunny day here at Zolder, but a pleasure to be broadcasting that one and watching that very intense finish to round 6.
Yeah, Matt Donetti has just messaged me. He is absolutely devastated. He had that in the palm of his hand, and he just carried too much speed into that turn 8, and he just overcooked it slightly, and he's very dirty with himself because he knew that that was a very rare mistake from Simon Bishop, and it was the one opportunity he might have for the foreseeable future to get himself a victory. And yeah, he's very dirty with himself, but a great race nonetheless. And honestly, just looking at the results from that, I think my driver of the day is going to have to be Matt Donetti. I know there's a lot of strong performances up and down the field. There was a lot of drivers that did a really good job, but I think, George, my driver of the day is going to have to go to Matt Donetti, because he stayed in it. He very well could have just been content with P2 and sort of cruise around and maybe drop off Simon Bishop a bit, but he held that about 5-second gap following that pit stop, and that was the reason that he was able to get himself up into the lead of that race, because he just kept pushing and he didn't fall too much off the back of him, and made sure that he was in a position for if he did make a mistake, and he was able to pounce. But I have to ask you, George, obviously Matt Donetti is my driver of the day. Who are you thinking? You got anyone in mind that you want to jump to?
Oh, absolutely. Some honourable mentions out there. We saw some great driving from Andre Scheppers today, some really good defensive driving. And I think Crawley drove a very good race too. He had some mistakes, he had some issues, but especially in that pit stop as well, he cost himself a lot of time, whether it was due to repairing damage or some other mistake that he had made. But he crawled his way back up into P5. Yes, that is not getting old anytime soon. And did very well. So overall, a good honourable mention for him. But my driver of the day has absolutely got to be Carter. Hung around, looked after his tyres, executed his strategy, didn't get involved in any city battles, clearly saw an opportunity when Machin and Liam Tame had an issue, and to capture a P3 out of that is a very smart drive. So my driver of the day, absolutely going to Carter today. And chat, we would absolutely love to see what your driver of the day is. Please let us know. We hope you've had a fantastic time watching what was an enthralling and exhilarating bit of racing here in round 6. And boy, oh boy, I'm looking forward to what's next, because the calendar for this season is extremely exciting. I think there might be a little surprise in for everyone as well. So stay tuned for the next minute, because I think Isaac might have something to say to everyone.
Well, just before we jump into that, I want to hype it up by having a look at what we've got to come in the remainder of this season. So if we have a look at this season's calendar, next Saturday, we go racing at the Indianapolis Super Speedway for the Indy Super Sprint. That's our last Super Sprint for the season. And then on the 11th of April, we wrap up this amazing season one with the finale at Imola, which is an absolutely beautiful track. And I'm so glad that that is where we're finishing off our season. I couldn't think of a better place to finish off the season. Two great races left, or two great circuits, 3 races left to come in this championship. But speaking of championships, you mentioned I have a bit of a surprise for everyone, a bit of an announcement. We're live on air, exclusively announcing the Season 2 calendar for Adrenaline GT. And here it is. We've got 10 rounds of racing to come, starting on Friday, the 2nd of May, for the Italian job at Misano, one of my favorite circuits. I know I say they're all my favorite, but this really is one of my favorite circuits. We've got the Italian job for round 1 at Misano. Then round 2, the very next week, we go for the Spanish Super Sprint in Barcelona, which is going to be absolutely beautiful. It's the first time we've seen GT3 cars at Barcelona here at AGT. And then we go to Silverstone for round 3 for a 1-hour race. We've got a couple new formats in there as well. We go to Austria. We go to the American Grand Prix for a 3-hour 2-driver enduro, which I am very, very hyped for. And another new format for AGT, format we've not seen before, the sprint/feature race. And we'll explain what that's all about in just a second. But that is the TrackSpotTV challenge at Mount Panorama. And I don't know about you, George, but I'm very excited for the TrackSpotTV challenge. Bathurst is a brilliant circuit, and I couldn't think of a better place to debut a brand new format.
Absolutely. And I'll have to be completely honest with everyone. I loaded up this graphic today, and I did not spot that. Ironically, as being the CEO of TrackSpotTV, I did not spot the TrackSpotTV challenge included there, and I'm very flattered, and I'm looking forward to very much a race at Bathurst where we get a sprint feature, 11th of July. Keep that one on everyone's calendar. Keep the whole calendar on your calendar, because this is a great, great series here. Tell us about the rest of it.
Well, so following the TrackSpotTV challenge, we're going to go into a community vote race. This will be anyone that's in our Discord. So if you're not in our Discord, make sure you go and join. Anyone that's in our Discord will get an opportunity to vote for what circuit they would like to see. We'll give options based on a selection of circuits that the admins will choose from. So each admin, we've got 4 admins. They get to choose a circuit each, and everyone will vote for which one they would like to see the most. And that's where we'll go racing. That'll be an hour race. And then we have the second of our 2 Enduros for the Belgian Grand Prix. So we opened this season at Spa, and we thought we love Spa so much. What's something we could do that's a little bit different than just either the Super Sprint format or going there for another hour race? And we thought, why not a 4-hour 2-driver Enduro, which I'm personally, and again, I'm excited for this entire calendar. I've been itching to get this out for weeks now, but we've waited for the right time, and we thought today was the right time to do it. We will go to Laguna Seca for the final Super Sprint of the season in round 9, and then we go to the finale at Valencia in Spain for another sprint/feature format. Now, a couple people might be asking, what is the sprint/feature format? And we're actually well prepared for that. So if we have a look, what's new for Season 2? We have 2 new formats. The sprint/feature, it's going to feature a 20-minute qualifying session, similar to what you see for our 1-hour races. Then we'll have a 30-minute sprint race with the reverse top 10 from qualifying. So however they qualify in that 20-minute session, we're going to reverse the top 10 of that for the sprint race. And then that's a normal sprint race, no mandatory stop, just hell for leather for 30 minutes. And then we will have, with the normal quality results, a 60-minute feature race. So this is an hour and a half of racing on track. There's 1 mandatory stop for the 60-minute race. And I'm very excited to debut this new format. We've seen it done in places like Formula One. We've seen it done in supercars. We've seen it done in various formulas and series all over the world. And then it's sort of a new format. We have done it once before, but it's our enduro format. So we've got 2 drivers per car with stint times that will be set based on how long the race is. We'll have a 3-hour race at Watkins Glen, and we'll have a 4-hour race at Spa with multiple mandatory stops. And for the first time ever in Adrenaline GT, we will have multi-stage qualifying, including a top 10 shootout. This is something that I, George, personally am extremely excited for, because I love watching top 10 shootouts both on television and in other series around the world, and I'm very excited to be bringing this to Adrenaline GT.
Super cool. Everyone loves a top 10 shootout. Simple as that. 3-4 hour racing, good length of time, multiple mandatory stops there, 2 drivers, so you're looking at an hour and a half to 2 hours each. Fantastic stuff. That 4-hour race is going to be very exciting, because no cars can make it 2 hours in a single stint unless you are running at about 5 minutes a lap. So that's going to be very exciting. I love this format, Isaac. I think this is a very, very well put together calendar for the season. Lots of great tracks in there. The community voted round is going to be very exciting. Of course, I'm always excited about Bathurst, and the finale, of course, of Valencia. That is going to be extremely spicy, especially after all the blood, sweat and tears that will inevitably be put in by the drivers and teams throughout a very, very challenging calendar. Let's take another quick look at that calendar. So we've got the Italian job, the Spanish Super Sprint in round 2, over to Silverstone, my favorite track, or one of my favorite tracks, I should say. King of the Ring, the Red Bull Ring, making a lovely return on the 6th of June. The American Grand Prix in round 5. Bathurst for the TrackSpotTV Challenge, the community voted round. Belgian Grand Prix, the American Super Sprint in the finale. Isaac, well-crafted calendar that is, and we are very, very looking forward to seeing that. I assume that there will be some sign-ups put in the AGT ACC Discord, and you can find links, of course, to all of the Discords in the description as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sign-ups will go live in the next couple of days. We're breaking the news here, and then we'll formally announce in the Discord either this evening or early tomorrow morning this calendar, and with that will be the sign-ups for Season 2. It'll be similar to this season. We'll have a teams championship, and we'll have multiple classes. I'm very excited. I know a lot of the drivers are very excited. We engaged in a little bit of community feedback about the calendar and about the championship leading into this season to make some changes that everyone was wanting and was happy for. And I think that feedback has been really positive, which has really helped us shape in what's going to be an even better season for Season 2. So I'm very excited.
Well, on the back of a fantastic race at Zolder, we have had the calendar for Season 2 announced here by our amazing admin, Isaac. Everyone, make sure you give him a thanks in the chat. This man works tirelessly to make sure the league runs efficiently and effectively. Big thanks to Adrenaline GT and for supporting the broadcasting here. TrackSpotTV, of course, very honored to be a part of this. Isaac, I think it's time we start wrapping things up, so I'll hand it over to you for the final word.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit alongside you in the commentary box yet again, George. It's always a pleasure, never a chore. I always have a great time when we're hanging out together. And thank you all at home for tuning in and watching along. We've appreciated wherever you're tuning in from, wherever you're watching from, sending in your comments. We make sure that we read them all, and it's very much appreciated. We want to thank TrackSpotTV and RavenComms for partnering with us in this broadcast experience. We hope you're all enjoying it. The feedback has been great. Keep it coming in. If you want to get involved with AGT, there's links in the description. There's also links to TrackSpotTV's YouTube and Twitch channel, so make sure you go and give them a follow and see some of the exciting stuff that they're doing with other series in Australia and around the world. It's really some excellent stuff. George, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in at home. As always, I've been Isaac Fogarty. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for round 7 at Indianapolis.